Alright, hey everybody. Those of you who don't know, Kenny and I are planning to go on a 35-mile backpacking trip on the Appalachian Trail for spring break this year. And the purpose of this video is to just give a general overview of the equipment that we plan on taking with us. So in some cases I'm going to go over pretty quickly, and some things we're going to go back, like the cook kit and the first aid stuff, we're going to go over it in a little bit more depth. So let's start cranking through this and get through this video. For those of you who know Kenny and I, you know that we use hammocks instead of tents. So first of all, what I've got here is a War Bonnet Blackbird hammock that we're going to be sitting in. I've got my Superfly rain fly. I've got my stakes to hold it all down. And all the cords and everything we need for that are all contained in there. When you're using a hammock, you don't use a sleeping bag. So instead of a sleeping bag, if we come over here and take a look, I've got an under quilt and a top quilt. That essentially is the top and bottom of a sleeping bag separated. So I have a top quilt, which is a flight jacket from Underground Quilts, and I've got a snug fit under quilt with down also, and that's made by Ed Spear over at Spear Hammocks. Okay, looking at the gear then, I'm just going to kind of step through all this. I've got a pair of camp shoes that weigh next to nothing that I put on at the end of the day at camp. I've got some wipes for my hands to wash while I'm going on the trail. I've got some mosquito wipes that have DEET, and bio wipes for, you know what those are for. I don't carry a full towel with me. I use a ShamWow for my towel, and this is actually a ShamWow that I cut in half. That's all I need right there, and that operates as my camp towel. I also use it to dry things off that get wet for one reason or another. And then I also have a piece of Tyvek that I use as a drop cloth under my hammock. I cook on it. I use it for a lot of things. Anytime you want to be off the dirt, you use this Tyvek drop cloth for that. This time we're taking a Spot GPS finder, so if we have an emergency we can get help. I'm going to come up here. This is my trowel for digging a cat hole. Very lightweight. This is just a stuff sack. I may put some snacks or food in here, but I'm not real sure yet. There are some extras out here that I'm going to kind of take into account and may or may not use. This is one of those items I may not need. I put food in it in the past, but I'm getting a bear bag for this trip. Speaking of the bear bag, I've got about 50 foot of line here that's backpacking rope. It's very lightweight, but it holds over 600 pounds of weight. This is the rope I'm going to use for stringing the bear bag up in the trees. I've got chapstick here, extra CR2 batteries for my lantern. This is my backpack lantern. Lightweight, small. It's got a little carabiner that flips up on it so I can hang it. And it takes these little CR2 batteries. I've got a compass. Everyone needs a compass, right? I'll also have a topographical map with me when I go. This is fuel for my cook kit. I'll just fill this bottle up and take this, but this is what I put in it, and I put heat in it. That's my fuel for my cook kit. I'm going to come back and go through this cook kit in a little bit more depth here in a little bit. I got two knives. I bring just a real good sturdy pocket knife. This is the Kershaw with a nice sling open blade. And then I carry a Mora carbon steel knife with a good carbon steel shank. You can use this for just about anything out there, cutting wood or doing anything. In addition to my backpack lantern, I also carry a light, which this is probably extra. I may not throw this in this time because between my flashlight and my headlamp, it's a little bit overkill. I'll probably just bring the headlamp and the lantern this time. I've got a fire starter here in case I need to use some flint and steel. Roll of duct tape for this is good for blisters. It's good for patching your equipment. Any number of things. Duct tape is important. This is a little mounting base for my camera so I can put it on my end of my trek pole and make videos. I've got some extra water bladders here. This is a platypus bladder. This holds 2 liters. I've actually got 2 of these that hold 2 liters each. And I've got a third one here that holds 1 liter that I keep as a backup in case I spring a leak in one of these others. Before I get to my clothes, I'm going to come up here. This is the gravity filter. This is in the box still, so you can kind of see what it is. It's the Platypus Gravity Works. When it's not in the box, it's actually in one of these little pouches right here, and that goes in my backpack. It filters 4 liters of water in 4 to 5 minutes. It works very good, very quick. We've actually got 4 of these, so I will bring 2 on this trip so we have a backup in case one of the filters get clogged. I've got a titanium spork that I use for eating and cooking. My watch, this is a Casio that's got a compass built into it and a thermometer, so I can keep track of the temperatures and know if I'm getting below freezing or not. These are just some oven bags that you use for cooking turkey in the oven, but if I've got gear that I need to be extra careful with water, I'll stick them in one of these bags, and they're really sturdy bags, don't weigh anything at all. This is a bandana that I use if I have to wash dishes or something, or you can just use it for any number of things. It makes a great sling if you get hurt, but it's actually a first aid bandana. It's got a lot of first aid stuff written on it in case you need help in the field. I've also got, this is my hydration sleeve. When I cook, I boil water, put it in a Ziploc bag, put the Ziploc bag in here. It's a freezer bag, and this will allow the meal to hydrate and stay hot. And then inside here, I've actually got a table that I made out of a piece of aluminum. This straps to a tree, and it acts as a table that I can cook on. It fits right in my hydration sleeve, so it doesn't take up any space, and really very little weight, if any. Not a necessity when you're out there, but that'll be a nice little convenient thing to have to cook on. This will be the first trip I take that on. I got a couple extra water bottles here, that actually squirt bottles. I'm going to put Dr. Broner's soap in for Kenny and I, 1 for me, 1 for Kenny. I've got an extra fork here that I don't know, I may take it. I've been a few times, I wish I had a fork with me, so I kind of sat that here to think about. I've got 1 pair of sock liners, and I've got 2 pair of merino wool hiking socks. And I rotate between these 3 things. Some days I'll wear sock liners inside my wool socks, and some days I won't. It just depends on how my feet feel that day. And then I rotate these out, I'll wash them and keep them moving. I'm going to come around this side here. This is a pair of fleece, I call them hobo gloves, but fingerless gloves that are just fantastic on the trail. They do a great job. I got a merino wool balaclava that I'll wear to keep my face and neck warm. These are kind of extras. I may not bring them, but when I don't have the balaclava, I'll use a fleece neck warmer and a head and ear warmer here. But I may not need this since I've got the balaclava. I've also got a fleece hat. This is a really warm hat. I will bring that. And I've got a down hat that I may throw in too if I see that it's going to get really cold while we're out there. Alright, we're moving right along. I've got a first aid book I'll probably bring with me just because it's got some real heavy duty wilderness survival tips in it. Maps of where we're going and some guide information. This is my first aid kit. I'm going to come back to this. It's got personal hygiene and first aid in it, but I'll go over that in more detail. I'm going to throw in an extra poncho just in case I need it for rain gear. I've got some other rain gear I'm going to show you. I've got my hiking boots. This is my clothing. I'm going to come back to my clothing here in a minute. I've got a lightweight day sack. It's just a little backpack that you can use as a day pack if you need to set up camp and then walk down to the stream to take your bath or whatever. You can put things in here. This is my rain cover for my backpack. You'll notice it's bright orange. I got bright orange in case I'm hiking through somewhere where there's open hunting. I just put that on so I'm visible. I've got an emergency blanket in here. This is an extra layer for warmth in the hammock. I put it underneath the hammock. If the wind's blowing real hard and the air's passing under the hammock and I'm getting cold, I'll use this. I've got a camp chair, which this is actually made by Stand Sport, but it weighs about 1 pound and it just straps on the outside of my backpack. Really good camp chair for backpacking. Takes up very little space. I've got 2 trek poles. I usually bring 2. I typically only walk with 1, but I still bring 2 for fear one will break, and also because I use it with my rain fly to set it up in porch mode. And if you don't know what porch mode is, I can show you that later. I've got, this is a Cuban fiber pack liner that goes inside my backpack. It's a waterproof layer inside my backpack. You'll notice I've got 2 or 3 waterproof layers for all my gear, just because I'm really hesitant to risk getting things wet. So this is actually a pack liner that goes inside my pack, and then I compartmentalize my pack because my backpack is just one big open area. I have this Cuban fiber waterproof sack that my clothing goes in, and then I've got this sack that my hammock and sleeping gear all go in. My hammock, my tarp, my top quilt, my under quilt, those all go in this Cuban fiber sack, and they're guaranteed to stay dry. My backpack itself is a ULA Catalyst, it's got a huge pocket here up front. It's got some side pockets here for drinks and stuff. It's got hip pockets on the belt. I've got this extra cord here that I strap things on with, and it's got a roll top on it. Inside here there's an extra sleeve for a water bladder, and it's got a hole here you can put the hose through so you can drink the water while you're walking, which I don't do that, but a lot of people do. On the front of this, I keep a bear whistle right here. I got an emergency light right here, and I've got an extra fisheye compass that's probably the most important $1.99 I've ever spent. That has saved me numerous times on the trail where I think I'm heading one way and I'm actually heading a different way, and you realize you need to turn around. That's pretty important. Trust me, that happens out in the woods. Okay, I'm going to go over my clothing a little bit. I think I might have mentioned, here's my boots. These are my hiking boots. They're Merrell hiking boots, well broken in. Okay, here's my clothing layers. This is going to be important to see if you're going to be out in cold weather. You want to make sure you have the right stuff. I only bring, for a 4-day trip, I bring 2 pair of moisture wicking underwear. And I just rotate them back and forth, and I'll wash the pair that I'm not wearing. But this pulls the moisture away so you don't get any chafing while you're walking. So that's important to note. I've got a merino wool base layer, pants and shirt. The shirt has a neck collar that comes up around my neck. Nice long sleeve shirt. Then above that base layer, I have actually 2, I don't have them out here, I have 2 moisture wicking t-shirts that I'll wear over this or without the merino if I don't need it. Then I've got a fleece layer that I put over top of that. It's a 3/4 zip fleece pullover that will go over top of my shirt. And then above that, depending on how cold it is, I have a down jacket here. It's a packable down jacket I'll put over top of the fleece. And then if need be, to protect me beyond that, to help hold heat in, this is my raincoat. It's a Kelty raincoat with tape seams and everything. This is great as a windbreak and as a raincoat. So when I've got all my cold weather gear on to keep me warm, I've actually got 5 layers on. The base layer, the t-shirt, the fleece, the down jacket, and the raincoat. And between that, I can stay down to some pretty cold temperatures. I do something similar with my legs. I wear the merino wool base layer on my legs. I've got a pair of wind pants here. That's just basically jogging pants with a liner in them. And then above that, I'll wear my switchbacks. So these are the switchbacks I'll bring. And so I actually got 4 layers that I could potentially wear on my legs. And then again, if it's warm, then I just, obviously take those layers off, and these are zip off, so I zip down to a pair of shorts in order to take care of that. So that's it for my clothing. As you can see, actually, my clothing takes up very little space in my backpack. This is just an extra down jacket. The reason I have this out is because I'm going to actually use the sleeves and cut them off right here and put a seam up here and make like a down booty that I can sleep in to keep my feet warm when it's cold outside at night. So that's what that's for. That's my old down jacket that I'm not going to be using as a down jacket anymore, because I'm going to use this one. Alright, let's come back up here now. Let's talk about my first aid kit. This is what you want to have in a first aid kit. I've got personal hygiene stuff in here too. So you'll see a mixture of medicine and soap and a lot of different things. I've got Dr. Bronner's soap. This is the peppermint version. This soap is good for brushing your teeth, washing your hair, taking a bath, doing the dishes, washing your clothes, everything. And you only use a little bit at a time. So I'll actually condense this down into one of these small bottles, one for me and one for Kenny, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll each have our own soap. I've got moleskin that I'll use for blisters. I've got, that's my inhaler. Yeah, you don't need to know about that, I guess. This is another emergency blanket. This is one that if we truly have an emergency, we'll wrap up in. This other one I showed you was more for keeping warm in my hammock. This is for a true emergency. I've got Gold Bond powder here in case I have some chafing. I've got some fire starters. If we get into an emergency and we can't get a fire started, we'll use these fire starters to get a fire going. Those are homemade jobs. They're pretty fun. I got some extra batteries here. An extra length of rope. You never know. You might need that for something. Some additional camp soap. I've got some floss and some medicine. This is Aleve, in case you get to hurting out there, you got Aleve. And then this is my emergency first aid kit. I got more in here. As you can see, I try to carry plenty for everybody. This is full of bandages and band-aids. I've got burn ointment, I've got itching cream, I've got Benadryl. I've got, in this pouch here, I've got sinus medicine, I've got Tums, in case, or Pepto-Bismol tablets, in case you get an upset stomach. I've got Imodium, if you get diarrhea. Again, I've got more Aleve, Sudafed, just any number of things. I've got some, in addition to the burn cream, there's some like Neosporin cream, antibacterial cream in here. So everything you need. That's all important to have. If something happens and you don't have those, you're going to be hurting because we're going to be in the middle of nowhere. So that's that kit. Last thing I'm going to go over is my cook kit. And you make a little spot right here. This is my cook kit. Now, I'm showing you this not because this is what you need to do for a cook kit, but I want you to understand what I've got, and it may give you some ideas for you and to do. Most people, my son Kenny, actually let me grab his real quick. This is probably more standard what you can see. This is his cook kit. Everything fits right here. He's got a pocket rocket burner from MSR. He's got a lighter to light it up. He's got a cup. This holds just over 2 cups of water for boiling and hydrating, and his tank. So that's pretty much a standard cook kit right there that you'll see most people carry. It's very small, doesn't take up much space. Here's my kit. This is a kit I put together mostly based on items from Tinny at Mini Bull Design, and some extra things. These are a couple extra alcohol burners, white gas burners that a friend of mine, Jim, made. I may or may not use those, but I keep them in there as extras. And then here is my cook kit. This cook kit's got an Imusa cup that holds a little bit over 4 cups of water. I've got a bottle here that I keep cooking oil in if I'm going to do baking. This actually has the ability to do some baking. I've got a carbon fiber wrap. I'm sorry, a carbon fiber wrap around here because I removed the handle, so now I can hold it and it doesn't get hot. That keeps it cool. Inside here, I've got my windscreen, which you will want a windscreen That kind of goes around my pot. This is the pot stand. This is my burner right here. I put my fuel in this reservoir, and I take the burner. This is an MS, let me think of it here. An M2SB made by Tinny. That's what that is. That's an M2SB. It's got the pot stand here that goes over it, the fuel. You put the cup on top with water, lid, and your windscreen, and that's essentially how you cook right there. You just put the fuel in here. This is the fuel. But this, that's for boiling water, or for cooking. I can cook straight in there. It's got some other options here where if I want to, I can do a cup inside a cup with a little spacer right here, and that allows me to bake baked goods like cookies, muffins, cakes, brownies, any of that stuff I can actually put in here, put this inside here, and do what's called dry baking. There's my lighter. So that gives me some additional options with cooking. But you know, some would say that you do or don't necessarily have time to even do that when you're on the trail. Sometimes we do have time, sometimes we don't, but I like to have that option. Alright, that's all I can think of. I've got an extra cup here I usually bring for drinks. I mentioned the gravity filter. We've got 4 of them here, but we'll take the 2 best that we've got. One to use and one for a backup. That's all I can think of. I hope this video was helpful. I know I went through things pretty quickly, but should give you some ideas if you're trying to pack for a similar trip. That's it. Have a good evening and see you on the trail.